Hello and welcome dear students. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic, that's types of programmed learning. The objectives of today's lecture will be types of programmed learning, linear style of programmed learning, branching style of programmed learning, mathematics style of programmed learning, types of programmed learning. In programmed learning, the presentation of the instructional material to the learner in a suitable form is called programming. Modes of preparation of programs are called styles or types of programming. Various types of programming have emerged on account of researches in the field of programmed learning. Linear programming, branching programming, and mathematics programming are the most important styles of programming. Now, the linear programming method. The credit of propagating the linear programming style goes to B.F. Skinner. It is directly related with the theory of operant conditioning. It is based on the assumption that human behavior can be shaped or conditioned gradually, step by step, with the suitable reinforcement for each desired response. Hence, in linear programming, the instructional material is sequenced into a number of meaningful small steps called frames. These frames are presented to the learner in the arranged sequence, one at a time. The learner is required to respond actively at each step. By proceeding from one step to another, the learner may thus be able to acquire the desired learning experience. The sequence of the frames and the path of learning in the programmed learning are systematic and linear. That's why it is called linear programming. Here, all the learners have to proceed through the same frames in the same order. The whole instructional procedure is well controlled. As it is controlled by the programmer, the linear programming is also called extrinsic programming. Now, dynamics of linear programming. The mechanism of the linear program is that the learner is presented with information through logically structured small steps known as frames and called upon to answer a question. As soon as he responds, he is shown the correct answer to confirm his response. This confirmation serves the same reinforcing function for the humans as a food pellet serves for a rat. Now, advantages of linear program. 1. Linear arrangement. Every learner starts with his initial behavior and proceeds towards terminal behavior through the linear arrangement of fixed instructional sequence of frames. Second, small steps. In a linear program, the subject matter is presented in small units, frames, of one word to as many as 40 to 50 words in length to facilitate the grasp of students. Responses are controlled. In a linear program, the responses and their order are fixed by extrinsic factor. Hence, it is called extrinsic program. Next, responses are structured. Students have to construct their responses. They are required to fill in a missing word, to phrase, to answer a question, and to solve a problem. Next, active responding. Since the linear program demands the active participation of the students, they are likely to give an active response, overt or covert. Immediate feedback. As soon as the learner makes a response, he is provided with immediate feedback by being shown the correct response. Then self-pacing. The learner completes the program at his own speed and is not forced to complete it with his classmate. Next is prompting. Prompting is an additional stimulus which minimizes errors and helps the learner to give the correct response. In the beginning, responses are heavily prompted. These are gradually withdrawn to let the student make a response of his own. Error rate. In a linear program, errors are reduced to the minimum. Hence, error rate should not be more than 5%. It may be used from the first grade because of its simple mechanism. The learner can skip a certain number of frames in a linear program provided that he responds correctly to the test item given at a particular frame. Such a program is known as a skip linear program. Now, disadvantages. 1. Learning in the linear program becomes unchallenging, dull, and uninspiring because of its linearity. It may be applied to teach those subjects which can be properly sequenced, such as science, mathematics, and vocabulary. In a linear program, there is no scope for flexibility, creative thinking, and for the development of the judgmental abilities of the students. Branching or intrinsic programming. The branching programming is essentially stimulus-centered and was originated by Norman A. Crowder. The underlying principle of branching is that different students need different instructional materials, and learning occurs by the commission of errors. It is called Crowderian programming, and because it adapts to the needs of the students without the medium of such an extrinsic device as the computer, it is also called intrinsic programming. Crowder believes that there is a crucial difference between symbol handling and the capacity of animals and of human beings. A pigeon may, with some pains, be taught to discriminate between one arbitrary symbol and another, but one cannot say directly to the pigeon, "If you peck at this triangle, we shall give you a food pellet." But we can say many more complex things to human beings with high expectations of getting the task successfully performed by human students. The process of symbolic communication is fraught with the possibility of errors. In a branching program, errors are first detected and then corrected because it is impractical and undesirable to attempt to eliminate them. Now, dynamics of branching program. The identifying feature of a branching program is its uniqueness in presenting the subject matter to the learner. The frame size and the amount of information given is much larger than that of linear program and is followed by multiple choice answers, only one of which is correct. The learner controls by the adequacy of his grasp of the material the exact sequence that he will take from among the available branches in the program. If he chooses the correct answer, he is told that his answer is correct, and he is then presented with the new information. If his answer is incorrect, he is told why it is wrong, and he either returns to the main stem to reread the information or is routed along a remedial sequence. Branching programs may be produced for use on a teaching machine or in book form. The book form is known as the scrambled textbook. Some fundamental assumptions of branching program are: 1. The learner learns a thing better if it is presented in its totality or on the form of meaningful components. Second, learning takes place better if the students are made to learn on the pattern of traditional tutorial methods. Third, the basic learning takes place during the student's exposure to the new material. Wrong responses do not necessarily hinder the learning of a correct response. In a learning process, errors may occur. If an error occurs, it may be detected and correct before proceeding further on the learning path. Learning takes place better if a learner is allowed sufficient freedom to take decisions for adopting the instructions to his needs. Learning takes place better if each response is used to test the success of the latest communication to the student, and the testing is followed by remedial instructions. Multiple choice items help more in the learning process than the forced choice single response items. Techniques of branching program. There are two techniques in which branching program can be arranged: backward branching and forward branching. Backward branching. In this technique, the learner goes from first frame to second frame only if he makes correct response. If he makes an error, he is led to a remedial frame where he is given some more help in understanding the concept and in solving the solution by a better logic. He will then be directed to the original frame 1. He reads again, answers correctly in the light of the remedial material received earlier. So the learner goes through the same frame twice, once before the remedial material and secondly after the remedial material. Forward branching. In this type, whether the learner is making correct response or wrong response, he will always be going to new pages, progressing from page to page. When he makes a wrong choice, he is directed to a remedial frame where his mistakes are fully explained, probably followed by another parallel question, from which he goes to the next frame in the main stream. Now, advantages of branching program. A branching program deviates from the straight line and consists of more information in each frame. A frame may consist of 2 to 3 paragraphs and sometimes a full page. A branching program is particularly suitable for dealing with material that involves complex problem-solving strategies. The detection and correction of errors is emphasized. It allows 20% errors, assuming that learners learn more by committing errors. A distinctive feature of the branching program is that the subject matter is directly and continuously controlled by the learner's performance in answering the questions put to them. Now, a few disadvantages. It does not eliminate the possibility of guessing. Students may guess the correct answer without understanding the information in the frame. Since the branching program is very costly in comparison to the traditional teaching approaches, its practicability is doubted. It can be used only after standard 6th because the children are unable to understand its mechanism in the earlier standards. Now, mathematics style of programming. Linear or branching programs are the conventional models in programming. Mathematics is the newest and most controversial approach to the programmed instruction. Mathematics come from the Greek root word methane, which means to learn. Mathematics, Gilbert 1962, is nothing more than a highly formalized application of existing scientific principles taken literally from the science of animal behavior. It is based upon the systematic application of the reinforcement theory to the analysis and reconstruction of the complex behavior repertoire, usually known as subject matter mastery and skills. The basic precepts of mathematics were formulated originally by Thomas F. Gilbert in his article Mathematics, Technology of Reduction. The basic idea of mathematics is to start with the most motivating task, which is likely to the last operation which completes the process. The presentation is through simulators. Gilbert, like Meagher, has suggested that the programmer ought to allow the students to define an optimum route for him to take. Obviously, such an optimum route involves forcing the student to take as large a step as he can manage, leading to the large frame. Hence, in mathematics, the frame size is quite big. Steps of mathematics programming. The basic steps involving in mathematics programming are: number 1, data collection. At this stage, the programmer defines the terminal behavior and analyzes the task or topic. The task analysis includes topic analysis, job analysis, and skill analysis. Prescription of mastery. The basic unit of prescription is the operand consisting of a single act of behavior or, together with its associated stimulus condition S. Third, characterization. The program involves the 3 types of exercises. Every response is first demonstrated to the student, it is then prompted, and finally every response is released so that the student performs the behavior entirely on his own. Next, exercise writing. Frame writing make an extensive use of illustrations, tools, and soft simulators. A common procedure is to use a 3-stage process of demonstration, prompting, and release, in which directions, instructions, guides, and prompts are successively reduced over each group of frames in such a way as to release the student's mastery behavior. Thus, in mathematics, retrogressive chaining is used, which makes it unique among all other programming techniques. The rationale for the retrogressive chaining technique is that the closer the student is to the reinforcement when he is being taught, the more effective that reinforcement becomes. The reinforcement in mathematics is the completion of the task. Now, advantages of mathematics programming. Mathematics is both analytic and synthetic in approach. It is somewhat eclectic in nature and unique in its application. It provides not only guidelines but also a notational system to help the programmer in deciding what to teach, which method or strategy to use, and a detailed procedure for constructing a program. It is suitable for teaching skills when the transfer of training forms an essential part of instruction. For skills, a high degree of simulation is required, and many mathematical programs are described as kits or simulators. The program has been successfully used in the area of such psychomotor skills as barbering, welding, bricklaying, electrical appliances repairs, radio television repairs, etc. It is a step towards developing a new technology. Now, a few disadvantages. This style of programming is not much in use because of intricacies involved in its construction. Its effectiveness in teaching different subjects is also in doubt. It cannot be used to teach the lower classes and is very time consuming and costly. With this, we come to end of today's lecture. Hope you have enjoyed and understood it well. Thank you for watching.